Lieutenant Jack Harris stared at the radar screen, his eyes narrow with suspicion. Something wasn't right. The blips had appeared from nowhere, moving fast toward Outpost Sierra 7. 12 unknown vessels, no identification signals. Dr. Morgan, you might want to see this, Jack called over his shoulder, not taking his eyes off the screen. Lisa Morgan walked over, tucking a strand of blonde hair behind her ear. As the outpost's chief xenobiologist, she had studied every known alien species humans had encountered in their expansion across the stars. But these readings weren't matching anything in their database. How long until they reach us? She asked, leaning closer to the screen. Less than 2 hours at their current speed, Jack replied. His fingers tapped against the console. 3 years in the Marines before being stationed at this remote outpost had taught him to trust his instincts. Right now, those instincts were screaming danger. Major Sam Warren entered the command center, his normally relaxed face now serious. Report, Lieutenant. 12 vessels approaching, sir. No response to our hails. They're not transmitting any recognized identification codes. Sam frowned. Wake everyone up. I want all stations manned in 30 minutes. Outpost Sierra 7 was humanity's furthest research station, built to study a strange nebula at the edge of explored space. With only 43 personnel, it wasn't designed for combat. They had basic defenses, but nothing that could stand against a determined attack. Lisa returned to her lab, pulling up every scan they had collected of the approaching ships. The design was unlike anything in their records, angular with strange protrusions that might be weapons or sensors. The energy readings suggested advanced technology. An hour later, the unknown vessels slowed as they approached the outpost. The largest ship positioned itself directly in front of their main viewing port, close enough that they could see details of its strange, burnished hull that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They're hailing us, called Kevin, the communications specialist. The main screen flickered to life. Standing before them was a tall, thin being with pale blue skin stretched tight over sharp features. Its eyes were large and completely black, set in a narrow face with no visible nose, just 2 small slits. When it spoke, the thin line of its mouth barely moved. I am Fleet Commander Zexnar of the Vraxian Expansion Force. Your outpost is now under our authority. Provide all tactical information about human defenses immediately. Major Warren stepped forward. I am Major Sam Warren of the Earth Alliance. This is a scientific outpost. We welcome peaceful contact with new species, but we don't respond to demands. The alien's black eyes narrowed slightly. You misunderstand, human. This is not a negotiation. The Vraxian Empire requires information about your species' military capabilities and outpost locations. Provide this data now or we will extract it, Lisa whispered to Jack. They skipped right past hello to threats. Not a good sign. Jack nodded, his hand resting on the sidearm at his hip. Standard protocol for first contact was to exchange cultural information first, then gradually work toward more substantial diplomatic relations. These Vraxians weren't following any recognized protocol. Major Warren maintained his composure. Commander Zexnar, we're happy to share information about our culture and scientific discoveries, but military intelligence is not mine to give. I suggest we establish proper diplomatic channels through our government. The Vraxian commander stared silently for several seconds. Your cooperation would have made this simpler. Now we must demonstrate our resolve. The screen went dark. Shields up, Warren shouted, but it was already too late. The outpost rocked as the first blast hit. Alarms blared throughout the station. Jack grabbed Lisa's arm to steady her as the floor shook beneath them. All personnel to emergency stations. Warren's voice came over the comm system. This is not a drill. Jack ran toward the armory, Lisa close behind him. The few weapons they had wouldn't do much against a fleet, but they might need them if the Vraxians boarded. Another blast hit, stronger than the first. The lights flickered and died, replaced seconds later by the dim red glow of emergency lighting. The outpost shields were failing fast. Why are they attacking? Lisa asked as they reached the armory. We didn't threaten them. Jack handed her a pistol. They came looking for military information. We're just the first humans they found. Through the small window in the armory, they could see the Vraxian ships repositioning. The attack paused, briefly, as if they were assessing the damage. They're testing our defenses, Jack realized. This isn't just about our outpost. They're gathering data for something bigger. The station's internal comm crackled. This is Warren. They've breached Section 4. They're boarding us. Jack checked his weapon. We need to get to the escape pods. They moved through the corridors carefully, the red emergency lights casting eerie shadows. Distant sounds of weapons fire echoed through the station. They turned a corner and froze. 3 Varaxians stood at the end of the hallway, tall and menacing in sleek armor. Their weapons glowed with a strange blue light. Jack pulled Lisa back around the corner just as blue energy bolts scorched the wall where they had been standing. There's another way to the pods through the maintenance tunnels, Lisa whispered. They moved quickly through narrow passageways designed for repair crews. The sounds of battle grew louder throughout the station. Occasionally, the outpost would shake from another external hit. They emerged near the escape pod bay to find Major Warren, helping an injured crew member. Harris Morgan, good to see you alive, Warren said, his face streaked with blood from a cut above his eye. We're evacuating everyone we can find. The Vraxians are downloading our databases and killing anyone who resists. How many pods do we have left? Jack asked. 3. I've sent 2 already with most of the survivors. This one's nearly full. Warren nodded toward the pod behind him. Get in. I'll send the last group in the final pod. Lisa shook her head. We're not leaving without you, sir. Warren's expression hardened. That's an order, Doctor. Someone needs to delete the classified sections of our database before they get it all. The station rocked again, more violently this time. A support beam crashed down nearby. They're starting to destroy the outpost, Warren said. No time to argue. Go. Jack hesitated, then nodded. He helped the injured crew member into the pod, then turned back to Warren. We'll alert Earth Defense about what happened here. Warren gave a grim smile. Tell them to prepare. This wasn't just an attack. From what I overheard, this was a scouting mission. The Vraxians are planning something much bigger. As their escape pod launched into space, Jack and Lisa watched through the small viewport as the Vraxian ships continued their methodical destruction of Outpost Sierra 7. In the distance, they could see only one other escape pod, not 3, as there should have been. They're hunting the pods, Lisa said quietly. Jack's jaw tightened as he watched the Vraxian ships finish their work and then gather in formation. We need to stay powered down and drift until they leave. Then we make for the nearest jump point. As the remains of Outpost Sierra 7 burned against the backdrop of space, Jack knew this was just the beginning. The Vraxians hadn't found humans by accident. They had come looking for targets, testing defenses, gathering information. An invasion was coming. The escape pod drifted through space for 3 days before they dared to power up the engines. Jack and Lisa, along with 4 other survivors from Outpost Sierra 7, had spent those days in cold silence, conserving oxygen and watching for any sign of the Vraxian ships returning. I think it's safe now, Jack said, his breath visible in the cold air of the pod. They're long gone. He activated the emergency beacon and the pod's small engines. Their destination was Jump Station Epsilon, a small refueling outpost about a week's journey away at their current speed. Do you think anyone else made it? Asked Lisa, her arms wrapped around herself for warmth as the pod's systems slowly came back online. Jack didn't answer immediately. He had seen the Vraxian ships targeting the other escape pods. We have to focus on warning Earth. That's what matters now. On the 6th day, they picked up transmissions, scattered, panicked messages from across human space. What they heard made their blood run cold. This is Colony Arcturus requesting immediate military assistance. We are under attack by unknown alien vessels. Mayday, Mayday. Mining Station Delta 9 is being boarded by hostile forces. All ships, be advised. New Washington Colony has fallen. Repeat, New Washington has fallen. Jack and Lisa exchanged horrified looks. The Vraxians hadn't just attacked their outpost, they were launching a full-scale invasion across human territory. When they finally reached Jump Station Epsilon, they found it in chaos. The small station was overwhelmed with refugees from nearby colonies. Military vessels were coming and going, trying to coordinate some kind of defense. As soon as they docked, Jack sought out the highest-ranking officer he could find. Commander Diane Rodriguez of the battleship USS Horizon was organizing the evacuation of civilians back to Earth. Lieutenant Harris, Outpost Sierra 7, Jack said, saluting. We were the first to encounter these aliens. They called themselves Vraxians. Commander Rodriguez's tired eyes focused on him. You have first-hand information about them? Jack nodded. They attacked without provocation. They wanted information about Earth's defenses. Rodriguez led Jack and Lisa to the station's command center, where maps showed the rapidly deteriorating situation. Red markers indicated fallen human outposts and colonies, while blue markers showed the remaining human forces. There were far too many red markers. They hit 23 locations simultaneously, Rodriguez explained. All outlying colonies and research stations. Now they're moving inward toward Earth. Admiral Brooks has ordered all remaining ships to fall back and form a defensive line at Neptune. A communications specialist named Kevin Foster approached them. Commander, I've been analyzing the Vraxian transmissions we've intercepted. Their language is complex, but I've identified patterns. They're coordinating their attacks with remarkable precision. Can you understand what they're saying? Lisa asked. Kevin shook his head. Not exactly, but I can tell they're surprised by something. The same transmission pattern keeps repeating after they take a human colony. We need to get this information to Admiral Brooks, Commander Rodriguez said. The Horizon leaves for Earth in 3 hours. You'll all come with us. As they prepared to depart, more refugees arrived, bringing stories of the Vraxian attacks. The aliens showed no mercy, no interest in taking prisoners. They overwhelmed human defenses with superior numbers and technology, then moved on to the next target. They're methodical, Jack observed as he helped load supplies onto the Horizon. This isn't random destruction. They have a plan. Lisa had been interviewing survivors, gathering any information she could about the Vraxians. Everyone describes them the same way: tall, blue-skinned, emotionless. They don't respond to surrender or pleas for mercy. The USS Horizon departed Jump Station Epsilon with a convoy of civilian ships. As they prepared to make the jump to faster-than-light travel, alarms blared throughout the ship. Vraxian vessels detected, called out the radar operator. 5 ships approaching from Sector 7. Commander Rodriguez didn't hesitate. All hands to battle stations. Civilian ships, initiate jump sequence immediately. Jack ran to the weapons station, while Lisa headed to the medical bay to help with potential casualties. Through the view screen, they could see the angular shapes of Vraxian ships appearing against the blackness of space. They're targeting the civilian vessels, reported the tactical officer. Rodriguez's face hardened. Position us between the Vraxians and the civilian convoy. All weapons prepare to fire. The Horizon shuddered as it accelerated forward, placing itself in the line of fire. The civilian ships behind them began jumping away one by one, flashing into the safety of FTL travel. First civilian ship away, reported Kevin from the communication station. Second preparing to jump. The Vraxian vessels opened fire, blue energy beams streaking toward them. The Horizon's shields flared as they absorbed the initial barrage. Return fire, Rodriguez ordered. The Horizon's laser batteries lit up the darkness, scoring hits against the lead Vraxian vessel. But the alien ships kept coming, their weapons seeming to grow more effective with each hit against the human shields. They're adapting to our shield frequency, Jack realized, modulating their weapons to penetrate. Shields down to 40%, called out the defensive systems officer. Third civilian ship away. Rodriguez gripped the arms of her command chair. We just need to hold them off a little longer. How many civilian ships left? 2, Commander. The ship rocked violently as a Vraxian beam broke through their weakening shields, hitting the port side. Damage on decks 4 through 6, reported the damage control officer. Emergency teams responding. Lisa felt the impact from the medical bay, steadying herself against a wall as wounded crew members began to arrive. The ship's doctor gave her quick instructions, and she set to work applying pressure bandages to a burned crewman. On the bridge, Jack watched as the fourth civilian ship disappeared into FTL. "Just one more," he said under his breath. "Shields at 15%, called out the defensive officer. "We can't take much more of this." Rodriguez didn't flinch. "Divert all non-essential power to shields. We hold until that last ship is away." Q. Horizon trembled as another hit struck home. Warning lights flashed across every console. "Last civilian ship jumping now," Kevin announced. As the final ship disappeared, Rodriguez didn't waste a second. "All power to engines, get us out of here!" The Horizon's engines flared as they prepared for the jump to FTL. The Vraxian ships closed in, sensing their prey was about to escape. One final massive impact rocked the ship just as they entered FTL. The lights dimmed, then steadied as they escaped into the relative safety of faster-than-light travel. In the aftermath, as they hurtled toward Earth, Rodriguez found Jack on the observation deck, staring out at the streaking stars. "Good work today, Lieutenant," she said. Jack turned to her, his expression grim. "We saved those people, but we lost the station, and how many colonies have already fallen?" Rodriguez placed a hand on his shoulder. "This is just the beginning, Harris. When we reach Earth, the real fight starts. Admiral Brooks is gathering every ship we have left." "Will it be enough?" Jack asked, quietly. Rodriguez looked out at the stars. "It has to be. Earth is all we have left." Earth was preparing for war. When the USS Horizon arrived, they found the home planet transformed. Orbital defense platforms surrounded Earth like a metal ring. Military ships of all sizes patrolled the space between Earth and the Moon. On the surface, cities had been converted into fortresses. Admiral William Brooks met them in the Lunar Command Center, a massive underground facility built into the Moon's surface. His face was lined with exhaustion, but his eyes remained sharp and focused. "Commander Rodriguez, thank you for getting your ship and those civilians back safely," Admiral Brooks said. "Every life counts now." Jack, Lisa, and Kevin joined Commander Rodriguez in the briefing room. Large screens showed maps of human space with vast areas colored red to indicate Vraxian control. Only Earth and its immediate surroundings remained blue. "In 3 weeks, they've taken 70% of our colonies," Admiral Brooks explained. "We've lost contact with over 15 billion people." The room fell silent as the number sank in. 15 billion lives, possibly gone forever. "What about our allies?" Rodriguez asked. "The Centauri Federation? The Rigelian Compact?" Brooks shook his head. "They're providing humanitarian aid for refugees, but they won't commit military forces. They're afraid of drawing the Vraxians' attention to their own worlds." "We're alone," Jack said quietly. "Yes, Lieutenant Harris, we are." Brooks turned to Lisa. "Dr. Morgan, I understand you've been studying the Vraxians. Tell us what you know." Lisa stood and approached the main screen. "From what we've gathered, the Vraxians are a highly militaristic species. Their society appears to be structured around conquest. They've shown no interest in communication or negotiation." She pulled up images captured from various battles. "Their biology is different from ours in several key ways. They have enhanced vision in low-light conditions but seem sensitive to certain frequencies of light. Their ships and armor suggest they prefer colder environments than humans do." "Any weaknesses?" Brooks asked. "Possibly. We've noticed their ships emit unusual radiation patterns. Dr. Olivia Washington at the Mars Research Facility is studying captured Vraxian technology. She believes there might be a connection between this radiation and their environmental systems." Brooks nodded. "Good. We need every advantage we can get." He turned to address everyone in the room. "The Vraxian fleet is advancing toward Earth. Our best estimate gives us 2 weeks before they arrive. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier we have left is being called to defend our homeworld." As the meeting ended, General Frank Martinez, leader of Earth's ground forces, approached Jack. "Lieutenant Harris, I've reviewed your service record. Combat experience on Titan, specialized training in alien environments. I need officers like you to help train our ground forces." Jack straightened. "Whatever you need, sir." "Report to the North American Defense Zone tomorrow at 600. We're preparing for the possibility of ground invasion. If they get past our orbital defenses, we'll meet them on the beaches, in the forests, in the cities, wherever they land. Over the next days, Earth prepared for the coming storm. Jack worked with General Martinez, training civilian volunteers alongside military personnel. Lisa joined Dr. Washington's team, studying Vraxian technology for any possible weakness. Kevin worked with the communications team, continuing to analyze intercepted Vraxian transmissions. One evening, Jack found Lisa in the research lab, hunched over a piece of recovered Vraxian equipment. "You should get some rest," he said gently. Lisa looked up, dark circles under her eyes. "How can I rest? In a week, maybe less, they'll be here. We still don't understand enough about them." Jack sat beside her. "What have you learned so far?" "Their technology relies on a specific radiation frequency we've never seen before. It powers their ships, their weapons, even their life support systems." She rubbed her tired eyes. "Dr. Washington thinks it might be their weakness, but we haven't figured out how to exploit it yet." Across the solar system, scattered reports began coming in from human colonies that had fallen to the Vraxians. Not all humans had been killed, as they first feared. Instead, many were being forced to work in mining operations or factories. The Vraxians were stripping planets of resources with ruthless efficiency. More disturbing were reports of resistance fighters on occupied worlds. Ordinary colonists had formed militia groups, attacking Vraxian patrols and sabotaging their operations. The alien response was always the same: brutal retaliation against entire communities. Yet the resistance continued to grow. In a prisoner camp on New Terra, a former mining colony, a man named Eric Bennett organized fellow captives into a secret army. Using smuggled tools and improvised weapons, they planned their strike against their Vraxian guards. "They expect us to give up," Eric told his people in whispered meetings. "They expect us to accept defeat. But that's not what humans do." On Earth, Admiral Brooks received these reports with grim satisfaction. "The Vraxians don't understand human nature," he told his officers. "They think destroying our fleets and taking our worlds means victory. They don't realize the fight has just begun." The Vraxian fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system right on schedule. Over 300 ships, far more than Earth's remaining defenses could match. They moved methodically, securing the outer planets one by one as they advanced toward Earth. Pluto fell without a fight. Its small research base had been evacuated weeks earlier. Neptune's orbital stations were destroyed after a brief resistance. Uranus followed a day later. On the bridge of the USS Horizon, Commander Rodriguez watched the tactical display with growing concern. "They're not rushing. They're taking their time being thorough." "That's been their pattern," Jack replied. "Methodical. No shortcuts." Saturn would be next, with its valuable fuel processing facilities. Then Jupiter and its dozens of moons, many with human settlements. After that, only the asteroid belt would stand between the Vraxians and Mars, Earth's most populated colony. In the Lunar Command Center, Admiral Brooks made a difficult decision. "We can't defend everything. We need to consolidate our forces to protect Earth." The evacuation order went out to all remaining outer system colonies. Every ship that could fly was pressed into service, carrying civilians back to Earth. Military vessels formed a protective screen around the refugee flotilla. As Saturn fell to the Vraxians, Earth received a transmission from the alien fleet. On screens around the world, the face of Vraxian General Cathur appeared. "Humans of Earth," the alien commander said, his thin mouth barely moving as he spoke. "Your resistance has been noted, your tactics studied, your weapons analyzed. You have lost 78% of your territory and 83% of your military capacity. Surrender now, and we will allow your species to continue existing under Vraxian rule." Admiral Brooks sent a simple reply: "Humanity does not surrender." The Vraxian general's black eyes narrowed slightly. "Then you have chosen extinction. We will oblige." As the transmission ended, Brooks turned to his officers. "They think they've seen everything we can do. They think they know how humans fight." A grim smile crossed his face. They have no idea what happens when humans have nothing left to lose. The Vraxian fleet reached Mars after destroying the defensive stations in the asteroid belt. The Red Planet, humanity's first colony beyond Earth, had already evacuated most of its civilian population. What remained was a heavily armed force, dug into the planet's vast underground facilities. General Martinez coordinated the defense from Earth, but he knew Mars would fall. The question wasn't if, but when, and how much damage they could inflict on the enemy before retreating. Make them pay for every inch, Martinez told the Mars commander over a secure channel. We need time to finish our preparations here. Dr. Washington had made a breakthrough in her research on Vraxian technology. Lisa worked alongside her in the underground lab beneath the Rocky Mountains as they tested their theory. The radiation their systems emit operates on a very specific frequency, Dr. Washington explained to Admiral Brooks and the Defense Council. We believe their environmental suits and ship life support systems are vulnerable to disruption if exposed to a countering frequency. Can we create a weapon based on this? Brooks asked. Dr. Washington nodded. We're already working on prototypes. The problem is range. Our current design only works at close distances. To affect their ships, we'd need to get the device inside their vessels or very near them. Brooks turned to Commander Rodriguez. That's where the Horizon comes in. We need your ship for a special mission. The plan was dangerous but simple. The USS Horizon, equipped with experimental stealth technology, would attempt to get close enough to the Vraxian command ship to deploy the radiation device. Lieutenant Carol Miller, the best pilot in Earth's remaining fleet, would fly a small stealth fighter carrying Jack and a team of specialists for the boarding operation. As preparations continued, Mars finally fell after a week of brutal fighting. The human defenders had destroyed 17 Vraxian ships before abandoning the planet, setting off nuclear charges in the main settlements as they retreated. The explosions wouldn't stop the Vraxians, but they would slow their advance. On Earth, cities were evacuated, with civilians moving to underground shelters. Military units positioned themselves at likely landing zones. The orbital defense platforms were fully armed and ready. Jack found Lisa in the lab the night before the mission. She was working on a small device that would be his team's primary weapon. Will it work? He asked. Lisa looked up, her face showing the strain of endless work hours. In theory, yes. The radiation should disrupt their systems, maybe even affect the Vraxians themselves. But you'll need to get it to their environmental control center. How will I know where that is? We've analyzed their ship designs from the battle footage. Their vessels follow a standard pattern. She handed him a data pad with schematics. We think their control center will be here, near the center of the DU ship. Jack studied the plans. And if I can plant this device there, it should disrupt their entire fleet's communications network, maybe even disable some of their weapons systems. The next morning, the Horizon departed Earth on its desperate mission. Using the gravity of the moon to mask their acceleration, they approached the Vraxian fleet now assembled near Mars. Lieutenant Miller's stealth fighter, carrying Jack and 3 Special Forces soldiers, launched quietly from the Horizon's hangar bay. Remember, we need 30 minutes to get clear once you activate the device, Miller reminded them as they approached the massive Vraxian command ship. After that, we can't guarantee the stealth systems will hide us from their sensors. Jack checked his equipment one last time. 30 minutes, got it. The fighter attached itself to the hull of the Vraxian vessel using magnetic clamps. Jack and his team used cutting tools to create an entry point, then slipped inside the alien ship. The interior was cold, much colder than humans found comfortable. The corridors were narrow, with strange blue light pulsing through transparent tubes along the walls. They moved cautiously, using hand signals to communicate. They encountered their first Vraxian patrol after 10 minutes. The aliens were even more imposing up close, tall, with powerful builds despite their thin appearance. Their armor seemed to absorb light, making them look like moving shadows. Jack's team took down the patrol silently, using targeted stun weapons, but they knew their presence wouldn't remain undetected for long. We need to move faster, Jack whispered to his team. This way, Following the schematics Lisa had provided, they made their way deeper into the ship. They encountered more resistance as they got closer to their target. The Vraxians had discovered the intruders. "Hold them off," Jack told two of his team members as they reached a junction. "Give us 5 minutes, then fall back to the extraction point." Jack and the remaining soldier pushed forward while the others set up a defensive position. Alarm sounds echoed through the ship. Not sirens like humans would use, but a pulsing tone that seemed to vibrate through the walls themselves. Finally, they reached what appeared to be the environmental control center. Large machines hummed with energy, and tanks of swirling gases lined the walls. In the center of the room stood a Vraxian officer flanked by guards. "Now," Jack shouted. He and his teammate fired simultaneously, their stun weapons dropping the guards before they could react. The officer reached for a control panel, but Jack tackled him to the floor. The Vraxian was surprisingly strong, throwing Jack off with ease. As it reached for a weapon, Jack's teammate hit it with another stun blast. This time the alien crumpled to the ground. "Plant the device," Jack ordered as he secured the doorway. "We have less than 20 minutes to get out." His teammate attached the radiation emitter to the main control console, then activated it. The small device hummed to life, emitting a frequency humans couldn't hear or feel. "Done," the soldier called, setting the timer for 25 minutes. They retreated back the way they came, fighting through Vraxian patrols that seemed increasingly disorganized. Jack noticed some of the aliens staggering, as if dizzy or disoriented. The device was already having an effect. At the extraction point, they found one of their team members dead and the other badly wounded. Jack helped the injured soldier while his teammate carried their fallen comrade. They reached their entry point with just 7 minutes remaining on the timer. "Miller, we need extraction now," Jack called over the comm. "I'm in position," came the pilot's voice. "But we've got company. Vraxian fighters are patrolling the hull." Jack looked at his team. One dead, one injured, all of them running out of time. "We're coming out. Be ready to detach immediately." They sealed their spacesuits and exited through the hole they had cut earlier. The stealth fighter was there, its magnetic clamps still holding it to the hull. As they climbed aboard, Vraxian troops emerged from another airlock, firing energy weapons in their direction. "Go, go, go," Jack shouted as the last team member tumbled into the fighter. Lieutenant Miller detached from the Vraxian ship and accelerated away, using minimal power to maintain their stealth profile. Behind them, the command ship showed no external signs of the chaos that must be spreading inside. As they neared the rendezvous point with the horizon, a massive pulse of energy erupted from the Vraxian command ship. The radiation device had triggered a cascade effect, disrupting systems throughout the vessel. "It worked," Jack said, watching as the enemy ship's lights flickered and died. "Now let's get back to Earth before they figure out what hit them." But, as they approached the horizon, the tactical display showed the rest of the Vraxian fleet already adjusting their course, heading directly for Earth. The attack on their command ship hadn't stopped them. It had only made them angry. And now, humanity's last hope was about to face the full fury of the Vraxian armada. Earth's defenses were ready as the Vraxian fleet approached. The orbital platforms, the remaining ships, the ground-based weapons, everything was in position for humanity's last stand. But everyone knew it wouldn't be enough. The Vraxians simply had too many ships, too many soldiers, too much firepower. President Alexandra Dawson addressed the world from her bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Her voice was calm despite the circumstances. "Citizens of Earth, today we face the greatest threat in human history. The Vraxians believe they have already won. They expect us to surrender or die. But they don't understand humanity. We do not break easily. We do not give up. When all hope seems lost, that is when we fight hardest." In the Lunar Command Center, Admiral Brooks watched as the Vraxian fleet entered Earth orbit. Their ships formed a perfect pattern, surrounding the planet in a web of destruction. The first shots were fired at the orbital defense platforms. "Here, they come," Brooks said quietly. "All ships engage according to plan. Defensive pattern Alpha." Earth's remaining fleet moved to intercept, focusing their fire on specific Vraxian vessels rather than spreading their attacks. It was a strategy born of desperation. They couldn't win by traditional means, but they might buy enough time for Dr. Washington's plan to work. On the USS Horizon, Commander Rodriguez coordinated with other ship captains. Target their lead vessels. Concentrate fire on designated points. The space around Earth lit up with weapons fire. Defense platforms exploded one after another as Vraxian beams tore through them. Human ships fought bravely, some ramming Vraxian vessels when their weapons were depleted. Jack watched from the bridge of the horizon as humanity's defenses crumbled. The radiation device hurt them, but not enough, he said to Lisa, who had joined the ship as their scientific advisor. We need more devices, and we need to get them inside more of their ships, Lisa replied. Dr. Washington is manufacturing as many as possible, but we don't have enough delivery systems. Below them, Earth's surface was already under attack. Vraxian landing craft descended through the atmosphere, targeting major cities and military installations. General Martinez coordinated the ground defense, moving his forces to meet the invaders wherever they landed. In New York, Vraxian troops marched through abandoned streets. In Beijing, human soldiers fought block by block to slow the alien advance. In Moscow, civilians joined military units in desperate combat. On the fallen colony of New Terra, Eric Bennett and his resistance fighters saw their opportunity. As Vraxian forces were diverted to the Earth assault, security on the occupied worlds loosened. Eric's people attacked the main Vraxian base, freeing thousands of human prisoners and capturing a small Vraxian vessel. We need to get this ship to Earth, Eric told his people. They need to know what we've discovered. His group had found something the science teams on Earth had missed. The Vraxians were not just sensitive to radiation, but to a specific combination of heat and light that humans used in their agricultural domes. The aliens avoided these areas, giving the resistance places to hide and plan. Back at Earth, the battle was going badly. Half of humanity's ships were destroyed, and Vraxian troops had established footholds on every continent. The Horizon had taken heavy damage but remained operational. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Mars sector, Kevin reported from his communication station. It's from a human ship but using a Vraxian frequency. Put it through, Brooks ordered. Eric Bennett's face appeared on the screen. This is Eric Bennett, New Terra Resistance. We've captured a Vraxian ship and discovered something important. They can't tolerate the light from our agricultural domes. Something about the combination of spectrum and heat cripples their environmental systems. Lisa's eyes widened. That's it. That's why our radiation device had limited effect. We needed to combine it with a thermal element. Admiral Brooks turned to Dr. Washington, who had joined them in the command center. Can you modify your devices to include this light-heat combination? Yes, but we still need to get them onto Vraxian ships. Commander Rodriguez stepped forward. What if we don't need to board their ships? What if we broadcast the radiation frequency from our remaining platforms and ships while simultaneously hitting them with the light-heat combination from the ground? Dr. Washington considered this. It might work. We would need to coordinate perfectly. The timing has to be exact. Then that's our plan, Brooks said. Send the specifications to all remaining ships and ground installations. We strike in 1 hour. The next hour saw frantic preparations. Human ships positioned themselves carefully. Ground-based laser arrays, normally used for communications, were reprogrammed to emit the specific light frequency. Heating elements from industrial facilities were repurposed to create the thermal component. In orbit, the Horizon and the few surviving Earth vessels prepared to emit the radiation pulse that would activate the trap. Jack and Lisa worked with the engineering team, modifying the ship's systems to produce the maximum effect. The Vraxians think we're finished, Jack said as they made the final adjustments. They think this is just our last desperate resistance. Lisa nodded. They don't understand that humans are most dangerous when there's nothing left to lose. On the Vraxian command ship, Supreme Commander Vexithal had arrived to personally oversee Earth's final defeat. The previous commander, Cathur, had been dismissed for allowing the humans to damage his vessel. The human resistance is weakening, a Vraxian officer reported. Their major military installations are 70% destroyed. Their orbital forces are reduced to 17 vessels. LeftHFY looked at the tactical display with cold satisfaction. Begin the final assault. No survivors. Their planet will make an excellent mining colony once the population is eliminated. At exactly the agreed time, every remaining human ship and installation activated their modified devices. From the ground, thousands of laser arrays shot beams into the sky, creating a web of light that intersected with the orbiting Vraxian fleet. Heating elements pumped thermal energy into the atmosphere at precisely calculated points. The effect was immediate and devastating. Vraxian ships began to drift out of formation, their weapons systems powered down. On the surface, Vraxian troops staggered and fell as their environmental suits failed. "It's working," Lisa exclaimed, watching the tactical display on the horizon. "Their systems are shutting down." Commander Rodriguez didn't waste the opportunity. "All ships target their command vessel. Fire everything we have." The remaining human ships concentrated their attack on LeftHFY's command ship. With its defensive systems compromised, the massive vessel took hit after hit until finally, its engines exploded in a ball of blue fire. Across Earth, human forces rallied, pushing back against the suddenly vulnerable Vraxian troops. The aliens retreated in disarray, their careful formations broken, their communications disrupted. Within hours, the surviving Vraxian ships began to withdraw from Earth orbit. Without their supreme commander, without their coordinated systems, they reverted to a contingency protocol: retreat and regroup. In the Lunar Command Center, Admiral Brooks watched them go with cautious optimism. "They're pulling back, but they're not defeated. Not entirely. But we've shown them something they didn't expect," President Dawson said from her video link. "We've shown them that humanity doesn't surrender, even in the darkest hour." 6 months later, Jack and Lisa stood on a hillside overlooking the rebuilding efforts in what had once been Boston. Many buildings still lay in ruins, but construction crews worked day and night to restore the city. "The Vraxians have withdrawn from 3 more colonies this week," Jack said, reading from his datapad. "They're pulling back to their core territories." Lisa nodded. "They're reassessing us. They thought they understood humans, but they didn't expect what happened when we had nothing left to lose." In distant space, aboard the new Vraxian command ship, a report was being prepared for the Vraxian High Council. Supreme Military Advisor, Seklar, once a skeptical commander, now wrote the final assessment. "Humans appear to possess a unique characteristic among the species we have encountered. When facing certain defeat, when all logical paths lead to surrender, they become more dangerous, not less. Their creativity, resourcefulness, and willingness to sacrifice increase in direct proportion to the hopelessness of their situation. It is recommended that the Vraxian Empire avoid direct conflict with humans in the future. They are most dangerous when they have nothing left to lose."